Today we're at Fremont Substation and we're going to be using the hydraulic lifts to lower the tank of a breaker. You can see the breaker is isolated and grounded and we have a clearance, which means we can continue. We can start by getting the hydraulic lifts from the trailer and setting them up on the breaker. We're going to set them up in a diagonal pattern, taking the two bolts across from each other out. Once those bolts are out, we can then push the hydraulic lifts into the slots where the bolts were. Next, we're going to put a washer and a nut on top, just like Marcos is doing here. In a second, you'll see that Bill realizes it's not his turn to drive carpool today. Now we can plug the hydraulic lifts into the hydraulic pump and plug it in with careful supervision and start it up, and then we're going to use the hydraulic lifts to suck the tank into itself. Once it's holding itself, then we can take off the other two bolts, as Marcos is doing here. With all the bolts off, it's ready to lower the tank. So we're going to use the hydraulic lifts to slowly lower the tank, and we're going to be examining the tank and the contacts as it comes down for any sort of damage. As you can see here, we're kind of just looking at it. Here's how the lifts connect to the tank. And here's some of the contacts that we're cleaning. Once we're done with our maintenance, we're going to use the hydraulic lifts to lift the tank back into position. Make sure everything's clean and nothing's inside the tank, and then we're going to slowly lift the tank back up using the hydraulic lifts. It should go into its normal position, but sometimes we might have to adjust it slightly just so it sucks back in perfectly. Next, we can put the two bolts into the opposite corners and then take out the hydraulic lifts. With the hydraulic lifts out, we can then push the two other original bolts back into the spot where the hydraulic lifts were, and the tank is closed. All we have to do is put the hydraulic lifts back away into their spot on the trailer, and that should wrap up how to use the hydraulic lifts.